PHP is a recursive acronym for PHP Hypertext Preprocessor. It is a widely used open-source programming language especially suited for creating dynamic websites and mobile APIs. So, if you are planning to start your career in PHP and you wish to know the skills related to it, now is the right time to dive in. In this video, I list top 20 PHP interview questions with answers with proper examples. To start PHP interview questions and answers session, I request you to subscribe to my YouTube channel and press bell icon to get real-time updates of interview questions and answers, which is helping to prepare the interview.
What is PHP in PHP?
PHP is a framework and repository for reusable PHP components. PHP stands for PHP Extension and Application Repository. It contains all types of PHP code snippets and libraries. It also provides a command line interface to install packages automatically.
Is PHP a case-sensitive language?
PHP is partially case-sensitive. The variable names are case-sensitive but function names are not. If you define the function name in lowercase and call them in uppercase, it will still work. User-defined functions are not case-sensitive but the rest of the language is case-sensitive.
What is the meaning of escaping to PHP?
The PHP parsing engine needs a way to differentiate PHP code from other elements in the page. The mechanism for doing so is known as escaping to PHP. Escaping a string means to reduce ambiguity in quotes used in that string.
What are the characteristics of PHP variables?
Some of the important characteristics of PHP variables include: first is, all variables in PHP are denoted with a leading $sign, $. Second is, the value of a variable is the value of its most recent assignment. Third is, variables are assigned with the equals operator, with the variable on the left-hand side and the expression to be evaluated on the right. Fourth is, variables can, but do not need, to be declared before assignment. Fifth is, variables in PHP do not have intrinsic types, a variable does not know in advance whether it will be used to store a number or a string of characters. And sixth is, variables used before they are assigned have default values.
What are the different types of PHP variables?
There are 8 data types in PHP which are used to construct the variables. First is, integers, are whole numbers, without a decimal point, like 4195. Second is, doubles, are floating point numbers, like 3.14159 or 49.1. Third is, booleans, have only 2 possible values, either true or false. Fourth is, null, is a special type that only has one value, null. Fifth is, strings, are sequences of characters, like PHP supports string operations. Sixth is, arrays, are named and indexed collections of other values. Seventh is, objects, are instances of programmer-defined classes, which can package up both other kinds of values and functions that are specific to the class. And 8 is, resources, are special variables that hold references to resources external to PHP.
What are the rules for naming a PHP variable?
The following rules are needed to be followed while naming a PHP variable. Variable names must begin with a letter or underscore character. A variable name can consist of numbers, letters, underscores, but you cannot use characters like plus, dash, %, and, etc.
How do you define a constant in PHP?
To define a constant you have to use define function, and to retrieve the value of a constant, you have to simply specifying its name. If you have defined a constant, it can never be changed or undefined. There is no need to have a constant with a $. A valid constant name starts with a letter or underscore.
What is the purpose of break and continue statement?
Break. It terminates the for loop or switch statement and transfers execution to the statement immediately following the for loop or switch. Continue. It causes the loop to skip the remainder of its body and immediately retest its condition prior to reiterating.
What is the meaning of a final class and a final method?
The final keyword in a method declaration indicates that the method cannot be overwritten by subclasses. A class that is declared final cannot be subclassed. This is particularly useful when we are creating an immutable class like the string class. Properties cannot be declared final, only classes and methods may be declared as final.
How can you compare objects in PHP?
We use the operator equals to test if two objects are instanced from the same class and have same attributes and equal values. We can also test if two objects are referring to the same instance of the same class by the use of the identity operator equals.
How can PHP and JavaScript interact?
PHP and JavaScript cannot directly interact since PHP is a server-side language and JavaScript is a client-side language. However, we can exchange variables since PHP can generate JavaScript code to be executed by the browser, and it is possible to pass specific variables back to PHP via the URL.
How can PHP and HTML interact?
It is possible to generate HTML through PHP scripts, and it is possible to pass pieces of information from HTML to PHP. PHP is a server-side language and HTML is a client-side language, so PHP executes on server-side and gets its results as strings, arrays, objects, and then we use them to display its values in HTML.
Name some of the popular frameworks in PHP.
Some of the popular frameworks in PHP are Cake PHP, CodeIgniter, E2, Symfony, Zend Framework.
What are include and require functions?
The include function is used to put data of one PHP file into another PHP file. If errors occur, then the include function produces a warning but does not stop the execution of the script, and it will continue to execute. The require function is also used to put data of one PHP file to another PHP file. If there are any errors, then the require function produces a warning and a fatal error and stops the execution of the script.
What is the main difference between require and require_once?
The require includes and evaluates a specific file, while require_once does that only if it has not been included before. The require_once statement can be used to include a PHP file in another one, when you may need to include the called file more than once. So, require_once is recommended to use when you want to include a file where you have a lot of functions.
What are the different types of array in PHP?
There are 3 types of arrays in PHP. First is indexed array. An array with a numeric index is known as the indexed array. Values are stored and accessed in linear fashion. Second is associative array. An array with strings as index is known as the associative array. This stores element values in association with key values rather than in a strict linear index order. And third is multidimensional array. An array containing one or more arrays is known as multidimensional array. The values are accessed using multiple indices.
How is it possible to set an infinite execution time for PHP script?
The set_time_limit 0 added at the beginning of a script sets to infinite the time of execution to not have the PHP error maximum execution time exceeded. It is also possible to specify this in the php.ini file.
What is the difference between echo and print in PHP?
Point 1. PHP echo output one or more string. It is a language construct, not a function. So use of parentheses is not required. But if you want to pass more than one parameter to echo, use of parentheses is required. Whereas, PHP print output a string. It is a language construct, not a function. So use of parentheses is not required with the argument list. Unlike echo, it always returns 1. Point 2. Echo can output one or more string, but print can only output one string and always returns 1. Point 3. Echo is faster than print because it does not return any value.
Name some of the functions in PHP.
Some of the functions in PHP include Function 1. Ereg. The ereg function searches a string specified by string for a string specified by pattern, returning true if the pattern is found, and false otherwise. Function 2. Ereg. The ereg function searches a string specified by string for a string specified by pattern, returning true if the pattern is found, and false otherwise. Function 3. Split. The split function will divide a string into various elements, the boundaries of each element based on the occurrence of pattern in string. Function 4, preg_match. The preg_match function searches string for pattern, returning true if pattern exists, and false otherwise. Function 5, preg_split. The preg_split function operates exactly like split, except that regular expressions are accepted as input parameters for pattern.
What is overloading and overriding in PHP?
Overloading is defining functions that have similar signatures, yet have different parameters. Overriding is only pertinent to derived classes, where the parent class has defined a method and the derived class wishes to override that method. In PHP, you can only overload methods using the magic method _call.